Following is an exclusive production of Minuteman Command. The Flagship Pod with your hosts, ESPN personalities Mike Corey and Rene Christian, is on the air. Brought to you by Todd Fritz Roofing, with insight and info from UMass and MAC insiders. From the Command Studios, here are your hosts, Mike and Rene.
Hey, folks, welcome back. Christian McCollum here with Rene and Golia. Rene, I actually played around with some AI stuff to try to update the intro and stuff like that, and I got down a wormhole. I couldn't fix it.
Listen, we're in the off season too. We're starting anew, so we'll have to do some new things moving forward for sure.
Yeah, well, welcome back. We've been away a little bit with the holiday and the Maction schedule, but it's good to get back here and get back on the pod. We're recording this on the eve of signing day, after UMass has wrapped up its opposite of perfect or inverse perfect 0-12 season.
Hey, they were perfect, right? Yeah. And yes, we're back. So, I follow social media, obviously. A lot of people thought, those guys are hanging it up because it was so bad. We're not hanging it up. We're still here, baby. Listen, there's no sugarcoating it. I know there's been different metrics. I think we're safe to say it's the worst season in the history of UMass football. Joe Harris-Simiak knows that. Anyone associated with the program knows that. I'm not going to sit here for 5 minutes and beat a dead horse. We're just moving upwards from here. And there's only one way to go for this program, and it's up. So, it was horrendous. Every adjective you want to use, it was. We're done. Flush it, much like a D-back that gets beat on a long pass. Flush it, forget about it, and move forward. So I will say this, though, and I'm sure we'll get Joe on here in the next few weeks. Pressure is going to be unreal next season for him and his staff. So, and I know, we'll talk about it's the coaching carousel. I've been involved in college football, since I played it, right? In 91, I've been deeply involved. I have never seen a year like this with the coaching carousel. I mean, it is nuts. And we knew as soon as the Kiffin domino fell, everyone else would fall. I pissed off JMU fans because I had JMU this past weekend at Coastal Carolina. And I said, I thought Penn State was where he was going to end up. Well, he ends up in the Big Ten. It's UCLA. And so that got a lot of the UMass fans going because, of course, Bob Chesney was at Holy Cross. And a lot of people thought he would be a great fit to take over the UMass program. That didn't happen. And then, lo and behold, Coastal Carolina, who ended up 6-6, right? Tim Beck, 3 years there, went to a bowl game all 3 years. Not good enough. He got fired after that game. So the carousel is unreal. We'll talk about that. And I know a lot of people are like, and I'm probably jumping the gun from what our format was going to be. So I'm sorry.
Let's go.
A lot of people are like, well, Joe hasn't made moves on his coaching staff. Well, he still may, number one. Number two, I really believe that because he got in so late last year and the roster wasn't kind of what he wanted and the portal and everything, and I'm not making excuses for him. It's just factual. With that said, you still can't go 0-12. All right, I'll say that. I think he's kind of like, okay, we're starting anew this year. So there's a lot of pressure, and it starts with signing day. So that's where I'm going to defer to you, Christian, because you're kind of the expert on that, of what's going on at UMass, who's left, who are they getting, commitments, the whole 9 yards. So I'll turn over the floor to you.
Yeah, last time we were on here, we were talking about, decommitments. At that point, UMass had one decommitment, and I, told you I expected them to impressively hold it together. But at the same time, I said, expect a couple more, right? Like we had mentioned Cooper Long. I mentioned Wake Forest was coming after him. So UMass, Wake Forest, you can't really fault the UMass staff for losing a kid to Wake Forest. I said I didn't expect there to be a lot, but I expected some to maybe sting more than others. And losing Tyler Bell, the quarterback, to Delaware was kind of what I was referring to then. Yeah. I had heard that was out there. And the position by itself makes it a big-time loss. Tyler Bell as a prospect makes it a big-time loss. So there's no way around that. At the same time, like I said, they were already working behind the scenes. If we lose Tyler Bell, we're going to line up some other things. So they were going after some other kids. They've had kids on official visits. And, I know, like you said, we'll get into the coaching carousel a bit, but its impact stretches, the tentacles stretch, right? So you mentioned Coastal fires back.
Yeah.
Well, the best quarterback in Massachusetts this year, Osiris Lopez, he was committed to Coastal Carolina. I don't think he's officially reopened his recruitment, but he's definitely looking around. And I can tell you for sure, I know UMass is talking to him. Are they going to get him? I know a lot of people would love to get him, and for obvious reasons, I can't say they're going to get him or not. I don't even really know how well those conversations are going, but I know they're happening, right? So in signing day, this will come on Wednesday, so signing day is today, but you don't have to sign today.
Correct.
You could wait till Friday. You also wait till February. That's what I would encourage a lot of these kids to do, who have seen like coaching changes at the places they expected to go. If they don't feel comfortable, they should probably just hit the brakes, wait, see how things settle, and then maybe sign in February. Of course, the issue with that is your spot might be gone, right? If Cyrus Lopez tells UMass, I want to wait till February, well, UMass may not be able to afford to wait that long, right? And I know a lot of fans might not like to hear that, but those are the judgment calls you need to make, right? Like, hey, we think we have a 33% chance to get Osiris Lopez if we wait till February, well, that means there's a 67% chance you're not going to get him. And if you have another guy you can get today, you might need to take him.
Yeah.
So kind of, goes it's all kind of weighing metrics and odds and percentages and all that stuff. A lot more goes into it than people realize.
Yeah. And I think a lot of these kids, because the coaching carousel nationwide has been crazy. And you got to remember too, like everyone thinks about the head coaches, all the assistants, all the coordinators. Okay. They may not be going with their coaches that got new jobs. And then, of course, the ones that got fired, those assistants are all looking for a job. There's movement like crazy. A lot of those assistants are the ones that actually recruit these players, right? And that's where that relationship. So I'm with you. I think there's going to be probably less people signing today, which is signing day, and we'll know, than probably there would have been without those dominoes falling with all the coaches leaving. I will also say this, and this always gets UMass fans going too. I have it on a very reliable source. Okay, very reliable source. UMass has money, okay, in the rev share NIL space. Okay, they have money. So, and I know the numbers got thrown around last year. I can't confirm or deny any of the numbers last year. I know they had pretty good money last year, but again, flush that year. I know coming this year, they have money. Now, that's great because we've used the analogy all the time. You could have $10 million. If you spend it on $10 million worth of crap, then you have a crap roster, right? So you still have to acquire talent. You have to recruit that talent. You have to be able to have an eye for that talent. So let's hope they do. But in terms of there might be someone saying, well, the quarterback from Massachusetts that was going to go to Coastal, or he could go to another Group of 5 program that has more money than us. Hogwash. They have the money to get some of these kids. I know they do for a fact. So We'll see. Hopefully they spend it wisely and rightly, and build this roster. Now, listen, I know too, Joe talked about building the roster through recruiting, and then the portal kind of supplements it. That's like the perfect strategy for every program. That's just not a UMass program. If you have 30 spots, you would love to fill 20 to 22 spots through high school recruiting, and 8 to 10 in the portal to fill holes. That's perfect. We've been the reverse of that. We know that we're not the only programs. There's been a ton of programs, right? Because you're chasing that instant success. I don't think, and I don't know this, but we'll see. I don't think Joe can quite do that this year. He's probably going to have to go a little heavier in the portal, but not as heavy as he was. It's got to be that perfect mix, but we'll see. Again,
the thing about that is the portal works both ways, right? So, you talk about filling 30 spots. You could still sign 22 high school guys and just increase the number of spots. Like, all right, we're not signing 30. We got to sign 40 because. And he said it after the last game. He was, not sugarcoating. The roster needs to be turned over. It needs to be better. So you only have so many spots. There's only so limited amount of high school kids going to help you improve your roster 8 months from now, right? So there are going to be some guys and there are difficult conversations to be had.
Well, there's guys you can cut people. Like people think you're on the team. people can be told, listen, we don't have a spot for you, right?
Yep.
And that's part of that roster evaluation. You have to go through that. Roster retention, keeping your good players, right?
Yep.
But also hard conversations where some guy, and they may be great people, right?
Yep.
They may be great, but you have to have productivity at spots. And if you're just not there producing, that spot needs to be given up to someone else.
Yeah, and that's why people are upset because if they're fans and they're season ticket holders and they support the team, if they're donors and they support the team, they're supporting that team. They want results, right? So you, like, as you said, to your point, could be the nicest guy in the world, could be the best kid in the world, maybe he suffered injury, bad luck, whatever it may be. But this is a results-oriented business. So and business is the key word. So you have to treat it like a business, and there's going to have to be some tough conversations. So I think he can do both, right? So you want to try to get that transfer guys that can come in and help immediately, and at the same time have these high school kids that are expected to sign today to really furnish that foundation. And he says he told them, I'm giving it to them. It's going to be theirs. They're going to be the ones that are going to carry this moving forward. They all might not be ready to do it. Most of them probably won't be ready to do it next season, but they're going to be the ones long-term. And like I said last time, every school has decommitments. You're going to have decommitments all the time. So I know that when the Tyler Bell news came, everyone was like, oh my God, this is it. The floodgates are going to open, right? And knowing that Tyler Bell was probably going to leave, I wasn't surprised. And, so like I said, sometimes you don't know to the last minute, but the floodgates have not opened as of now recording this. So you have to give UMass credit for that. These are guys they identified, recruited, got committed for the most part long before the season started, right? So these are guys that were bought into the plan. They've seen that it didn't work in year one, and they still are sticking to it for the most part. I'm not sure. I think UMass will add more people than they'll lose. I know they have new commitments that have not gone public yet. We will never report a kid's committed to UMass until that kid announces it himself.
Yeah.
So there are a couple kids out there that have told UMass they're in that I would expect to become public today. That's good. They're still recruiting. They're out there looking to get new guys, and some of these guys might not be as high profile. They probably won't be as high profile as Osiris Lopez, but way back when I was a Cub reporter, I covered recruiting for UConn, and I remember on signing day there'd be a whole list of new names I'd never heard of before that Randy Edsel had kept under wraps for a long time, and I'm thinking, who the hell are these guys? And it's Bleedy Ray Wilson, guys that ended up playing in the league, guys that brought them, UConn when they had their success 2 decades ago, guys that did that. So, these are some diamonds in the rough they're going to have to go out and look for, and it seems like they're trying to.
Well, and that's a talent in coaching, right? That's that recruiting talent, finding those diamonds in the rough. And talk about the coaching carousel, we'll get into it, but like UConn fans are beside themselves as well with Jim Mora, and we'll talk about that. But one more thing on the portal, and I've said this before, I am a proponent of bringing in FCS and even Division II players. I've said that before. But they have to be highly productive players. Like if I'm bringing in an FCS or a D2 player, he better be all conference in his league. He better be all American, right? And I mean, look with the Ivy this year, right? With them going to the FCS playoffs, obviously Harvard lost. Villanova handed it to them pretty good. Yale's still going, right?
Yeah.
So my point is there's players on these rosters that aren't even thinking about it yet, portal-wise, because they're still in the playoffs. And then look at not just those two, but I mean, Rhode Island's still going. Central Connecticut just got beat by them, but you got Nova still going. New Hampshire got beat. But I mean, you got a bunch of teams in your area. Let's look at their all-conference players. And I know I don't have his name, but I know Harvard had an all-conference offensive lineman that mentioned yesterday, I think I read, that he's going in the portal. So get those players with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, going back to JMU and Chesney did it. Chesney's got JMU went 11-1, right? They're playing for their conference championship. He's got 5 or 6 standouts on his team that played at Holy Cross for him. So there's players out there you can find. And the reason why I say FCS Division II is because if you get another group of 5 player in the portal coming to UMass, why is he coming to UMass? Right? There's an issue there.
Yep.
I like those kids that were at FCS or D2 that kind of were looked over, right? And now, but they have a skill set that you see on film. They're all conference, second team all conference, but whatever. And they played. Those are the kids I really love because you know what they can do. They got a chip on their shoulder. And let's face it, we're the worst program in the country. That'll be an improvement. That'll be a help.
Well, it's all relative, right? So you look at Chesney replaced Signetti at JMU.
Yeah.
Signetti goes to Indiana, makes the playoff, quick turnaround.
Took JMU players with him.
Took JMU players, right? So the JMU players were good enough to play at that level, right? So you just guys that are at a lower level, when they succeed, they're good enough to move up. I mean, it happens all the time.
And and again, going back to this money thing, we have the money to get some of those all-conference players. We definitely do. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Balls in their court. So
I do think the timing of it was stressful. I don't think I totally appreciated that. And
last year,
last year, right?
Yeah.
So I know I talked to people that about the portal guys they were bringing in, and they were excited about at least a handful of them, very excited about them. Some of them didn't work out just from circumstances, as evaluations, injuries, but hearing Coach Harris-Simiak talk about, I remember him getting hired on signing day because I was doing a signing day show for Notre Dame when it happened. So forget about high school recruiting for the first signing day, and then you're building a staff, trying to get the portal stuff. We talked about it. That started months ago.
Yeah,
right. Months ago, people are talking about putting out feelers, who's in the portal, who's not. You come in December 2nd or 3rd or whatever it was last year, and try to attack the portal almost as a one-man army.
Listen,
not going to get success.
The calendar needs to change. That's why, and that's a perfect segue into this coaching carousel, because that's why, Lane Kiffin, for God's sakes, his team's going to the playoff, but he has to leave because that's what the calendar dictates, right? You can dislike Lane Kiffin, you can dislike his demeanor, his coaching style, whatever. You don't hate the player, hate the game, because that is not his call. So once he moved, now his call was either stay, which I get it. You can be mad he didn't stay, but if he's going to leave, that is not his fault. He has to go now. And now and then you saw the domino effect. Look at the American conference, which I'll be there. I'll be in Tulane there this weekend for the conference championship. I do a pregame show for them. Both those coaches in the championship game are gone, right? Yep. John Summerall is going to Florida. Eric Morris is going to Oklahoma State. Alex Gollers from USF goes to Auburn. Silverfield goes. And then so those dominoes are affected because you have all these assistants, because they're not all going with them to those schools.
Sure.
Then all those programs have to be filled, right? Talked about Coastal Carolina. Talked about JMU. We see it looks like Will Stein's going to Kentucky. Penn State's still out there. It is a crazy carousel in this coaching world. And to your point, you have to get ahead of it. Now, it's easier, right, with LSU and Florida in terms of losing commits. When Joe took over last year with a losing program in UMass, it's like you're basically just trying to put bodies on the roster, right? You're doing the best you can with the time you have. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to do it again. I'll say again, you still can't go 1-12, and he knows that.
Sure.
So pressure's on, but yeah, just a crazy time. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I will say all the coaches from the American that have left and gone to the SEC and the Big 12, I've called games from. I've had in-depth conversations with all of them, all really, really good hires. I'm super high on John Summerall, though. It's funny, fan bases, I talked to a bunch of people because obviously being in Orlando, a lot of Florida alums here, and they were lumping him in with Billy Napier. And I loved his press conference yesterday. Summerall, he goes, no two coaches are alike, okay? None of us are alike. So just judge me by what I am. He's a home run hire for them. I don't think the fans realize or appreciate what they're getting in John Summerall. But,
because they're disappointed they didn't get Lane.
Well, and they thought they were gonna, but the interesting thing with that was, Florida went out and hired a legit general manager, a guy that was a general manager in the NFL.
Okay.
Kiffin wanted to bring his general manager with him. So that was right. So right in the beginning of the negotiations, that was going to be a no-go for Lane. So that really said Lane was either going LSU or stay at Ole Miss. And that's why I'm glad that Strickland got on Summerall quick, because there's no doubt the next coach in line for the biggest jobs was John Summerall. So
Well, and what with the Lane thing you mentioned about the time in the calendar where he had to go now, he just had to take the job now, right? Because he needs to get that stuff in line for LSU and recruiting portal. He still wanted to coach the playoffs, just like Summerall and
Eric Morris.
Yes, Morris.
And
they're going to keep coaching. Ole Miss didn't let him. Now I don't blame Ole Miss either, right? I don't want the head coach of my rival, one of my rivals in my building.
Yeah.
Handling my program. No.
100%. And it's different. So for those that are trying to compare it, Tulane and North Texas are not in Florida's or Oklahoma State's wheelhouse.
Yes.
So there's nothing, and vice versa. So Florida and Oklahoma State aren't worried about it. So we're like, go ahead, coach your guys. That's fine.
Yes.
We're not Ole Miss, LSU, you're in the same clubhouse duking it out. So you completely understand why Ole Miss did what they did.
And you talked about it, Rene. The coaching carousel gets all the attention at the top. The head coach and dominoes, this, that. It's underneath, right? Like new head coach is taking his entire staff to a new place. So it's hard. It's impossible to keep up with all the changes. But, if this OC is not going here, maybe he's going there. Now this guy needs a new OC here. The changes will happen. So over the next several weeks, at least down to the coaches convention and beyond, it's going to be pretty wild.
And we mentioned UConn, right? And that's super interesting because Mora goes to Colorado State. So now you're not even in the same footprint, right? Mm-hmm. So if you had a kid that committed to UConn that's a Northeast kid, he wants New England, and he decommits, golden opportunity. Here's another thing too. Don't think for a second, there's probably multiple coaches in the MAC that are now interviewing for not only UConn, but you have Memphis, you have USF, you have Tulane, you have multiple jobs out there. So there's coaches everywhere that still may be moving, right? After signing day. So there's going to be decommits. There's going to be a lot of upheaval. And so let's just hope UMass can swoop in and maybe get one or two guys that they didn't think they could get, right? That could help turn that roster. I mean, you have to be proactive and you have to be positive here. And you have to be a stone cold killer here this week. You just have to be. You have to go out and get guys. Okay. And again, if you have the funds, there's no excuse. Go get them, and have that plan and show them that plan. And I know it's frustrating for the fans. And I'm with you, fans. Like I know some fans. I know we kill the stadium thing, right? We talk about it, and I get it because I'm with you, fans. But I'm also with the fans with like, for the love of God, can't we put a diagram, whatever the hell it's called, a diagram out, like a proposed plan, like this is what it's gonna be. Like that gets people going. There it is. Even if it's 2-3 years away, let's get a damn plan out there. Let's have something to hold on to that helps. Because I get it. Players get paid, right? And that's what they're looking for, probably first and foremost. Let's be honest. But the facilities matter in that they want to know that the higher ups care about the program. And if you're saying we're going to do this, and this is what our stadium is going to be, and we're in a conference, which we are already, and this is the plan, and we're all pulling the same direction, that helps recruiting. Okay? So let's get off our asses and let's do stuff. I mean, I am not – anyone that knows me knows the one thing I hate is procrastination. Do not effing procrastinate. Do it, man. Do it. I don't care if it's recruiting. I don't care if it's stadiums. I don't care if it's hirings. Do it. Stop wasting time, man. Get it done.
So the thing with UMass fans is there's so much to be upset about right now. Yeah. That sometimes even the fans that are upset end up getting upset with each other because it's a idea of priority. So it's like, well, I don't care about the stadium. I want the team to win, right? And then other people, to your point, are like, well, if you make the stadium, you might get, and it's just vice versa. You just need to fix it all, right?
Correct.
And like the fans that are upset, they have every reason to be upset about a litany of issues.
Yeah, it all needs to be fixed. And listen, we saw what Kent State did, came up a game short of a bowl game, but a huge turnaround for them. Akron had a decent year. Central Michigan, their first-year coach, Drinkle, I think they won 7 or 8 going bowling. So, listen, excuses are over.
Yep. Let's
build this roster, and let's win games next year, okay? I don't want to hear – I'm sorry. I don't want to hear 3-year plan. I just don't want to hear it. College football has changed. It's evolved. I am willing to flush last year, even though I feel, I talked to someone about this the other day. I mean, like, I feel embarrassed and let down. I went all in right last year. So, not that I'm worried about my reputation, because my reputation stands for itself. And I will always support the program, but I supported it to a level where I'm just scratching my head thinking, holy cow, they went 0-12. So I don't take that personal. That doesn't piss me off as an alum, former player, as a college football analyst for ESPN. I went all in and supported that team and program, and I almost feel like, and I get it, it's me. Who gives a shit about me? I get it. But I almost feel like I was disrespected in a way. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, guys, let's all effing do this, man. And if I feel everything's going pulled in the same direction, then you're going to lose some. I get it. But like 0-12 is just inexcusable for UMass, and I think we all know that. So
it's just too many facepalm moments. You know what I mean? Like, I was there when the fireworks went off. I'm like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
The fireworks thing is like, that was a microcosm of every single UMass football season from the transition to FBS in 2012. I mean, I don't know who's in charge. And you could say, oh, it was a student this or an intern, whatever. How tone deaf do you have to be to light fireworks off when you're down 45 points and you score a field goal, make it 45-3 in the end of the game? I almost think, as the detective in me, I would want to do an investigation. I almost think someone did that as a ball busting thing. Like, watch this. We're going to do this. Watch this.
Yeah.
Tone deaf, dude. Shit like that happens. People need to be fired. Like, everyone wants me to fire people. There you go. Fire people.
But there was too many of those moments, right? It's bad enough to be 0-12, but then it's like the fireworks, the loss to Bryant, the loss to Buffalo, the flea flicker that goes the other way on the first play. There's just too many of those, like, oh, well, that can encapsulate the whole season in a negative way. There was just way too many of those. And to your point, and I know we had Thor on a couple weeks ago, and he talked about how year one is just like, you flush it, doesn't count, don't get evaluated on it, whatever. You can agree to disagree on that all you want, but I'll tell you what, if you say year one doesn't count, that means year two counts almost all the way.
Oh, yeah.
All the way.
100% does. You made me think of something. So talking about the flea flicker on the opening play, that was a disaster. So when I did the JMU Coastal game this past week, so Dean Kennedy is the offensive coordinator for JMU, and we were talking about, like, he was talking about how some the TV crews meet with the coaches, for those that don't know. And he was talking about one of the ESPN crews asking him what his first play of the game was going to be. And Dean, some coaches will actually tell you if they really trust you. I never ask, most of them have scripted. So Dean's like, well, I'm not telling you. And I said, well, I don't care. And I said, but I go, let me give you a little advice. I said, don't run a flea flicker the first play. And then we just got into the conversation about it. And we talked about, he's like, yeah, whenever someone opens a game with a flea flicker, it never works.
Yeah.
You know who opened the game with a flea flicker?
Who?
Coastal Carolina.
Oh my God.
Now, they didn't turn it over. It was incomplete. They didn't get it. They opened the game with a flea flicker. So I was just laughing. But yeah, the pressure and stress for next season is immeasurable. It really is on everybody. And I know fans are going to say it should have been this year. There should have been people fired. I'm not part of the organization, the program. I'm not a higher up. Everybody knows what's going on. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just sitting in my home office with a giraffe. That is a giraffe right there. I went to Africa 10 years ago. That is a handmade giraffe. Because, the Christmas stuff's up. So my wife threw all the stuff that was on the mantle in here. But I'm just a humble former UMass player, right? That's just giving my thoughts with Christian here, that cares about their program deeply. Okay. I've said this before. I'll say it again. No one calls me and asks me what they should do. Okay. Have I given opinions before? Yeah. Okay. If they don't follow them, okay. Oh, well, listen, I control what I control in my life. I don't control what I can't control. That's the advice I give my daughters. Okay. You will be miserable in life if you let things you have no control over dictate how you feel. You will be miserable.
Yep.
Once you realize it is what it is, you control what you control, which is your attitude and things you do at work. You're much more at peace with life, and I'm at peace. So
yeah. And one of the important parts of that is understanding, learning what you can't control. I mean, I texted my wife something this morning about, something we have going on in our world. And I said, you know what? I should just shut up and stop giving advice. It's not being taken. It's being taken the wrong way. And sometimes you have to just remove yourself and say, hey, I can't control that. I'd like to, say, hey, do this instead. But people don't listen. They don't listen. So, Rene, the fact that you've acknowledged that and understand that, like you said, it can be super frustrating when you're trying to change something and that change is not going, being listened to. So.
And I give you a perfect example in my profession now, a little behind the curtains, a little inside baseball. Like every broadcaster, play-by-play and or analyst, right? Whatever company they're with, ESPN, Fox, CBS, NBC, doesn't matter. You always want to move up the ladder, right? You always want to get better games. You want to be in the premier spot. At ESPN, we have a huge stable of broadcasters, right? And don't get me wrong, I always, this is my 16th year. I'm always striving to move up and be better. But there comes a point, right, where you kind of know, like, okay, this is what the company feels is your place, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you understand that, you're at peace with yourself. I never complain about assignments I get. I love college football. I will not broadcast the JMU Coastal Carolina any different with any less energy than if I was doing the Iron Bowl with Auburn in Alabama, right? I just love college football. You're going to get my best no matter what. And I am at peace with where I am in the company, and I love working, and I just love my assignments. There are people, right, that are still angry because they don't feel like they're where they should be at, and those people are miserable. So again, you control what you can control in that you do the best job you can be the best person you can be, the best employee you can be. And the other stuff you don't control. Someone else does, right?
Yep.
Faster you realize that in life, I'm talking about broadcasting, but this goes for life in general, folks, as we go to this holiday season here, okay? Control what you can. I'll give you a perfect example since we're shooting the breeze a little bit. I used to have a temper, right? I used to be that guy. Like, I get mad at the stupid things. And my wife will tell you that too. So my wife got a new car this week, right? She's always had like the worst car in the family. Finally got a new car. She's got the nicest car in the family, and she deserves it, right? Her old car, she's an Alabama fan. I think I've said that before. She's got a degree from Alabama, okay? So she has, even though we live in Florida, you can get your college football team on a Florida tag here, right? So she's got an Alabama football Florida tag. When we got her new car, we traded another car in that was my daughter's. And then my wife's old car was going to my daughter. Follow me? Most of us do that. So that tag went on my wife's new car, the Alabama tag. Well, the dealership couldn't do that other tag. And we had to make an appointment at DMV, and everyone knows how the DMV is. And then Thanksgiving, and then my daughter had to go back to Florida State, and she's technically going to be driving a car that's not the wrong tag assigned to it. And I was like, normally I would have lost my you-know-what, right? And I just said, all right, you can't control it. It's not your wife's fault. Just just take a deep breath. And I did. 4 days later, we got to the DMV. Boom, it was super easy. We transferred the tag. So everything's good now. The old Rene, I would have lost my shit in the dealership. I would have. I would have been, I can't believe you have an Alabama tag. I would have lost my shit. But I didn't. And so because I couldn't control that, right? I can't control that the dealership can't do it. I can't control that the DMV's closed because of Thanksgiving, Yep. That's life. And so, all right.
And sometimes misery loves company. Real quick, you met the assignments thing. As a young, maybe I was in college still, working in the newspaper. I still give this guy a hard time to this day when I see him. But I worked in the newspaper, the Republican. This is old school, even pre-internet. Our schedule would come out in a hard copy. Sports editor would drop them on the sports desk. I don't know what it was, Thursday night or something. And we had one guy who I love, but he's one of those miserable guys. He would come over. So imagine the schedule comes out. What would you do? What's the first thing you do is check your schedule, right? Yeah. No. He wanted to check everyone else's schedule to see what they had in comparison to him. So it's just like, just worry about yourself. Just do what you can control. Yeah. So,
and and on that same thing, I tell people this too. And comparison, folks, is the thief of joy. When you, and so broadcasters too, when you compare yourself to other people and perhaps how much money they make compared to you, it will make you miserable. Just live your best life. Have a great holiday season. Merry Christmas, everyone out there. I'm sure we'll talk before that. Have your health. You know, my phone rang like 4 times during this podcast. My dad's calling me. My dad's got heart surgery coming up. He's 85 years old tomorrow. So, like, just, you know, pray, have blessings for everyone's health. And come on, man, love life. It's too short.
So we're obviously sending our prayers for you and your family and your father, Rene. We will we'll have plenty of coverage, Minuteman Command. We're going to be learning ourselves about a lot of these new recruits that they're going to be signing. We'll have plenty of coverage, talking to those guys, talking to their people close to them, trainers, coaches, all that stuff, do some breakdowns. So we're going to do our best to let you guys know about these guys as we learn about them ourselves. So I'm excited to do that process with you guys. Thanks,
see you, Christian.
We'll see you soon. All right, Rene, thanks.